Hi everybody, this is your recorded lesson for maths. It's Monday the 8th of June. This week we're going to be looking at decimal numbers. We've looked at them quite a bit before, but I just want to go a bit more in depth about them. So we're going to start off by just making sure we're aware of what a decimal number is. It's easy to look at a number with a decimal point and numbers after it and to think that it's more complicated than it is. For example, let's say we have the number 5. Looks fine, it's a normal number, it's 5 whole numbers. And this number, 5.143, okay, 5.143 and the number 5. This number is just a bit bigger, so let's say these were 5 pieces of toast. Well, they're 5 pieces of toast plus a bit more, okay? So these are decimal numbers where they haven't reached one whole number. So as you go this way, the numbers get smaller in amount. So that is 1/10, as we know. So you need 10 of those to make another whole. So they're the tenths. And we know that that's 100th. And you need 10 of those to make a 10th. And you'd need 100 of those to make a whole number. These are thousandths. And you need 10 of those to make 100th. You'd need 1,000 of those to make a whole number. So the numbers are getting smaller in amount, in size as they go that way. And obviously, as we know, after the decimal point, numbers get bigger in size going that way. Okay, so that's the first thing to think about when we're thinking of decimals. So today we're going to focus more on ordering decimals, looking at their size and comparing them and see if we can get them in an order. We talk about ascending and descending order. Ascending order means you start with the smallest, the number you think's the smallest, and then they get to the biggest. So when you have to order them in ascending order, it goes smallest up to the biggest number in that order. Obviously, descending numbers, they start with the biggest and they go down to the smallest. Okay, here I've just written 3 numbers. I've got 2.7, 2.177 and 2, okay? And if we wanted to compare these numbers, we know that they've all got 2 whole numbers in them. So far we can say they're the same, but then we have to look at the decimal numbers which come after them, okay? So this number doesn't have anything at all. This number has 1 decimal place, it has a 10th, it actually has 7 tenths. This number has a decimal place, it has 3 decimal places after it. And it's easy to get confused about what that means for their size. If you can already do this, that is great. And we'll just push those skills on today and tomorrow to make sure that you can really learn new stuff. So to help us work out then, which is the smallest first, the best thing we need to do is we look at the one with the most number of decimal places, which is this one. That's got 3 decimal places. And we have to make sure that the others have got 3 decimal places as well. Now at the moment this 2.7 has got 1 decimal place. So what we can do is add 2 more decimal places to it with 2 lines. And the only number we can put there that doesn't change the size are 2 zeros. Now that looked like before it was a 7 and now it's 700. It's not. Don't forget these numbers get smaller this way. All we're doing is adding a placeholder. These are called placeholders. So that we can compare the numbers. So this is now 2.700. It hasn't changed the size of the number. We just added the zeros. And the same for this one. So we need to put 3 decimal places on that one. And again, we just fill them with zeros. It hasn't changed the size of the number at all. It's still 2 point nothing. But any number that's written as a whole number, as you know, you can always put a decimal point and and zeros after it. It doesn't change the number. Okay, so now that all three numbers have got 3 decimal places, we can now begin to compare them. And as we learned earlier, the numbers in this column are bigger than the ones in this column and this column and this column. These are the biggest ones. So it makes sense that when we're comparing a number with the same whole number, we start with the 10th. Okay, this one has got no tenths. This one's got 7 tenths and this one's got 1 tenth. So the smallest one has to be the one without any tenths. So that's the smallest. I'll just put a little S underneath it. And then we can go back to the other two. Well, we knew that this one has got 1 tenth and this one's got 7. So this must be the next one. We'll call that the medium number for now. And then clearly the largest number, because it's got 7 tenths, is this one. Okay, so here you can see 4 numbers. They are all 3 point something. And we need to work out which one's the smallest, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one. I'd like you to have a go at this one. So look at all 4, press pause and see if you can work out the order. Start with the smallest and go in ascending order. That means going up to the biggest one. Have a go. Okay, how did you get on? Hopefully you looked at, after you realised that all the ones numbers were the same, you then looked at the tenths. So this has got no tenths and this has got no tenths. That's got 6 and that's got 1. So we definitely know it's not these two. That's the smallest. It's got to be one of these. Now hold on a minute. They've both got no tenths. What do we do next? We have to go to the hundredths column. The next column. Okay. This number has got 6 hundredths. This number hasn't got any hundredths. So this must be the smallest one, even though it's got loads of numbers after it. It's got tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths and 100,000ths. That's a really, really tiny part of a number. We just look at the hundredths number. That's got 6 and that's got none. So this is the smallest number. Then it's this one, obviously, because we've just checked. Now, which is the next one to come? Well, this one must be the biggest one because it's got 6 tenths and that's got 1. So well done if you got that. So what I've done here for you, just to help you see the size of these numbers, is I've drawn a number line. Number lines are quite useful and quite important when we come to thinking about the sizes of numbers. So on this number line, the only numbers that can fit on this number line are those that are between 3 and 4. Okay, so they're obviously decimal numbers. Okay, so 2 wouldn't fit that way. 2.9999 would be over here somewhere out of the page. So the only numbers that can fit here are these types of numbers that are here. So they all start with a 3 point something. And if we wanted to plot roughly, not exactly, but roughly where these numbers would belong on this number line, first of all, we can use our knowledge of these numbers. So the midway point between 3 and 4 is, you can work it out if you want, I'll tell you now, it's 3.5. That's the halfway number. Okay, so it's always worth putting that on. Now this remember, all these bits of math we're doing are all connected. If you wanted to, you could break this up again. Halfway between 3.0 and 3.5, if you remember from our work on decimals and on fractions, if you think of that, that's now got this number line. It doesn't really matter what these numbers are. It's got 4 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4. We know that halfway is 3.5. We could even say 3.50 if we wanted. We could say 3.0 and 4.0. Halfway between that on that number line is, halfway between 3 and 3.5 must be 3.25. So that's 25, a gap of 25 in there if we wanted to say that, and another gap of 25, and another gap of 25 would be taking us to, if you can work it out, have a go, 3.75, and then up to 4. You don't have to plot these extra points in, but it will help when we're looking at these numbers. Okay, so if we look at the numbers we've got, they all start with 3. So let's do what we do. Let's look at the tenths. Now at the moment, they've all got a different number of places. So we'll start with the biggest one. This has got 4 decimal places. So let's put 4 in there. Well, they're a bit small. I'm going to fill them with zeros. I'm going to add 2 more to this one and put zeros on those. And then I'm just going to add 1 more here to put a 0 on that one. Now these numbers, I'm just going to put boxes around them so we don't get confused. Okay, so these are our 4 numbers. Okay, we know that this one has got 7 tenths, so it must be up here somewhere. Now this was 3.75 and this is 3.7800. So this one is going to be somewhere up here. So we'll put a little arrow. Okay, I maybe done that a bit wrong. It's probably there. And I've written that one in. Okay, so we've done that one. We can cross that one out. Where would this one go? This hasn't got any tenths at all. And if we look on our number line that we created, when I added that 0, that was for numbers without any tenths. But this one has got some hundredths, so it must be a little bit bigger. So I think we'll put that one about there. 3.078, because it's just got a couple, it's just got 7 hundredths. Cross that one out. This one has got 8 tenths. Okay, so this one must go up here and it must be bigger than that because that had 7 tenths. So we'll put this one here, 3.8. And the last one hasn't got any tenths and it hasn't got any hundredths at all. So this must be even smaller than here, but it must be very close. It's quite hard to see, but this last one would belong somewhere there. So 3.0078. So when we want to order them in ascending order from smallest to largest, as from our number line, we can just about see that this is the smallest, then this one, and then there's quite a big gap, and then it's 3.78 and then 3.8. So that's a way of seeing the size of those numbers. Okay, another number line here, but this time if you look at the number line, the only numbers that can fit anywhere along this line are if they're in between 0.6 and 0.8. So the first thing to do is to work out what the middle number is. Well, when we're counting, forget about the 0 and the point. If that's 6 and that's 8, the number that must be halfway between is 7. Okay, so we know that that's 0.6, that's 0.8, so this must be 0.7, like that. Okay, that's the first thing that will help us. We could add more numbers in if we want, but just for now, let's just leave it like that. And let's look at our 4 numbers. We've got 0.63, 0.71, 0.603, and 0.799. If we want to do them in ascending order, smallest to largest, we know that they're all start with 0, so that they haven't reached 1 yet. But let's look at the tenth. So we've got 6 there, we've got 7 there, we've got 6 again there, and we've got 7 there. So one of these two clearly is a smaller one and goes somewhere between here and here. So 0.6, 0.6. Let's look at the hundredths now. There's 3 of those and there's no hundredths there. So this must come next. Now, if you're thinking about that number line, if I wanted to plot the next number, let's say this midway one is 0.65, because it's halfway between 6 and 7, or 60 and 70, 0.65. Then this one is quite low down. This starts with a 0. This hundredth is the same as this hundredth. So this one must be really low down somewhere. This one must be 0.603. And then we have 0.63. Well, if that's 65 and that's 60, 63 is going to be about here. So we've done those two. Now let's look at these two that have got the sevenths as tenths. This is 0.7 and then a hundredth, just 1/100th, and this has 9 hundredths. Okay, so when we're looking at this one, if that's 0.70, that's 0.80, we can call this one, what's this one? See if you can do it before I do it. 75, because it's halfway between those. If you think of that as 70 and that as 80, 75 is halfway. So 0.71 is just going to be about here somewhere. And 0.79, there's a 9 there as well. So this is almost 0.8. It's very close to 0.8, so that's going to go right there. 0.799. There we go. So you can see our number line, and to put them in ascending order, that's the smallest, then that one, then that one, and then that one. Okay, the last part we're going to look at, the last number line we're going to look at is this one. And this number line, the only numbers that can fit on this one are numbers in between 0.9 and 1.0. So before we do this one, I've not written any numbers down yet. I want you to come up with 4 numbers that do fit somewhere along this number line. Now you're going to have to think about hundredths. I'm just going to put a 0 there. And I'm going to add an extra 0 there. A clue is to look at, pretend there's no 0 and a point, and there's no 1 and a point there, or take that point away. Basically, that's 90 and that's 100. So if you can come up with some numbers that fit along this number line, write them down and see if you can put them in ascending order by doing exactly what we did on the previous examples. Press pause and have a go. Okay, these are the numbers I chose. I've chosen 0.95, 0.905, I'm just going to do 3, and 0.98. Okay, 0.95, if I think of that as 90 and that 100, if that's 95, then clearly that's the halfway number. So I'm going to put that one there. Okay, do you see that? And we can cross that one off. This one is 0.905. Okay, that's got the same number of tenths as this, but it's got no hundredths. The previous one had 500, so this one must be much lower down. So it's got 5 thousandths. This one must be really, really low down here. So 0.905 is there, because it's still got no hundredths like this number. And then 0.98, if that's 0.95, then 0.98 must be up here somewhere. So if I put them in ascending order, I have 0.905, excuse me, 0.95 and 0.98. Okay, that's it. This number line, you'll see some of the work in Target Your Maths that's got number line, but a lot of it hasn't. But you could always draw yourself a number line to help work out the order of the numbers if that helps.